Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Robin Wansley, and I am the chair of the Administration and Enterprise Oversight Committee. And I am going to call to order our last regular meeting for this year, which is today, Monday, November 18th, 2024. But before then, yes, I'm going to ask the clerks to call to order. Yeah.
Councilmember Vita.
Present.
Ellison is absent. Cashman.
Present.
Chugtai.
Present.
Vice Chair Palmisano.
Present.
Chair Wansley.
Present.
We have 5 present.
Okay, let the record reflect that we do have quorum. I do want to offer a friendly reminder to all of our committee members, staff, and the public that these meetings are broadcasted live to enable greater public participation. And these broadcasts include real-time captioning as a further method to increase the accessibility of our proceedings to the community. Therefore, all speakers need to be mindful of the rate of their speech so that our captioners can fully capture and transcribe all comments for the broadcast. So we do ask all speakers to moderate the speed and clarity of their comments. And that said, I also will ask for our colleagues to please use speaker management and make sure to sign in. So with that, I am going to put myself in queue first to add an item to our agenda, which is before you, which is the approval of a letter of agreement with AFSCME General for a wage pattern adjustment and retention incentive. Again, you should have printed copies of both the RCA in front of you, and the members of the public can also find this printed copies online. Both here in the chambers and also online via LIMS. So I will first move to amend the agenda to add this item. May I have a second? See. With that, I will ask for actually just a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Those not in favor, all right, the ayes have it. Seeing no further discussion, that motion is now added to the agenda. That said, there are now 29 items on the consent agenda, which I will read for the public record. The first is a 2024 quarterly donations report. The second is designation of polling locations for 2025. Number 3 is a letter of agreement for represented and non-represented 911 employees retention incentive. Number 4 is a letter of agreement, temporary extension for maximum vacation accruals. Number 5 is independent legal counsel. Number 6 is a bid for concrete pavement sawing and joint sealing. Number 7 is a contract with North Point Health and Wellness Center, Inc., to provide domestic violence prevention programming services. And number 8 is a contract with selected firms for the city's legal services panel. Number 9 is contract amendment with Tyzac Concrete, Inc. for the Lindale Avenue North Pedestrian Improvement Project. 10 is contract amendment with Civic Plus LLC for basic codification services. 11 is contract amendment with Concrete Idea, Inc. for upgrades of Americans with Disabilities Act pedestrian ramps for Fairview North Project. 12 is contract amendments for lead service line replacement for year 1. 13 is contract amendment with Kimley Horn and Associates, Inc. for engineering and design services for Hennepin Ave South Street reconstruction project. Number 15 is a contract amendment with Kramer North America for the First Avenue Bridge reconstruction project. 16 is a contract amendment with Meyer Contracting, Inc. for the Signal, Storm, Sewer, and Curb Ramp Improvements project. 17 is a contract amendment with eligible providers of workforce development services. 18 is contract amendments with multiple vendors for group violence intervention and youth group violence intervention services. 19 is contracts with various organizations for partnership engagement fund projects. 20 is parking license agreement, amendment with Salem Evangelical Lutheran Church for parking at 4134 and 4142 DuPont Avenue North. 21 is environmental covenant and easement with Minnesota Pollution Control Agency at 505 4th Avenue South. 22 is legal settlement, Hennepin Healthcare, Inc., v. City of Minneapolis. 23 is a legal settlement, workers' compensation claim of Scott Campbell. 24 is a legal settlement, workers' compensation claim of Hillary Glassroot. 25 is legal settlement, workers' compensation claim of Brianna Garman. 26 is a legal settlement, workers' compensation claim of Christopher Smith. 27 is a gift acceptance from American Council for International Education, Travel, Lodging, and Per Diem. 28 is a lease agreement with MGEX Real Estate Holdings, LLC for office space at 400 4th Street South. 29 is a legal agreement with AFSCME General for wage pattern adjustment and retention incentive. So with that, I will pull item number 4 for discussion, but I will see if there's anyone in queue for discussion, for any questions. And I see Vice Chair Palmisano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I'd like to formally recuse myself from a vote on item number 23. That's a workers' comp settlement. Secondly, on what I believe you just referred to as item number 29 on consent, the thing that isn't on our printed agenda, the AFSCME wage. I note that the original contract expires at the end of this year. I'm curious where we are at in the process of negotiating a new contract, and I'm wondering if this agreement was part of being able to move forward with a new contract.
So I will ask if there's any staff present. I do see our Director of Labor Relations. Thank you.
Good afternoon, through the chair.
Yes.
Vice President Palmisano. This is not with the existing contract. AFSCME's contract expires December 31st of this year. This effort is hopefully an effort to move things forward so that we can begin bargaining.
I see. So this is an attempt to move forward with a new contract.
We have not, through the chair, we have not began bargaining. We are waiting to secure dates with the union to begin official contract negotiations.
I see. All right. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you, Director. I also put myself in queue for item number 5, which is the Legal Counsel Legislative Directive. My understanding is that this legislative directive had raised some questions from staff, and I would like to take a minute to share the reasoning for this request for research, as well as potential next steps from it. Despite the promises of government structure creating strong boundaries and lanes between the executive and legislative branch, there still continue to be issues, especially as it relates to counsel having access to standardized, neutral legal counsel from the city attorney's office. And I think it would be of great benefit for this body, as well as the executive administrative side of the city, to understand how other localities operate their legal services. I also want to make it very clear that I am fully aware of the charter and the relationship and the responsibilities of the city attorney. I know that for any potential changes to happen, it will require a charter change. But what this legislative directive is doing is beginning that conversation. And I do want to highlight that the government structure ordinance that was passed in 2022, it was passed under the understanding that it was going to be a trial period. In fact, we were told it was a try it before you buy it period. And we took the ordinance route instead of a charter change to essentially allow council to experience the new government structure and to allow us to make necessary changes to improve implementation of the executive and legislative structure of government. And well, it's been almost 2 years now, and I can say that there are significant challenges with how the city attorney's office operates currently as it relates to providing advice and guidance to both branches of government. This current system does not do a great job at managing the interests of both the executive and legislative branch, which both inhibits both of our branches' abilities to effectively carry out our respective responsibilities, and the consequences of that, of course, impacts our residents. And this isn't always visible to residents because most legal consultations and meetings often happens in closed meetings and behind closed doors. But the role of the city attorney's office has played concretely an important role in council's ability to advance residents' priorities on critical matters like carbon fees, off-duty, or bus lanes. So I would like to highlight that the old system of government structure was in the charter too, and it took many years of conversation to offer a change to voters. And we can't explore possibilities until we have more information about the landscape. And this is the start of a conversation to see if there is a shared desire to improve our system as well, so that we can, of course, strengthen our ability to serve our residents. So with that, I did want to offer some context for that piece. And then also, again, more than happy to answer any questions or see if any other council members would like to address any other items. And then I will also note for the clerks, I would like to move items, for separate votes, 24 and 25.
Madam Chair, to clarify, roll call on consent minus item 4, 24, and 25.
Absolutely. So I'll move approval of the consent agenda items for 1 through 3, 5 through 23, and then 26 through 29, including the walk-on item for the letter of agreement with AFSCME General.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Ellison is absent. Cashman.
Aye.
Chugtai.
Aye.
Vice Chair Palmisano.
Aye on all, and a recusal on item number 23.
And Chair Wansley.
Aye.
We have 5 ayes on all items except for 23, which has 4 ayes.
And now I will move approval of items 24 and 25.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Ellison is absent. Cashman.
Aye.
Chugtai.
Aye.
Vice Chair Palmisano.
Aye.
Chair Wansley.
Nay.
We have 4 ayes and 1 nay.
Okay, those items carry, as well as the consent agenda. So next, we will move to discussion, which we will take up item number 4, which was the letter of agreement, temporary extension for maximum vacation accruals. I did invite staff to come and give a presentation on this item. So I will invite staff up to give that presentation.
Madam Chair, Katie Blackwell, Assistant Chief. We're asking, currently we have 400 hours that we're not able to exceed vacation, and then those 400 hours were extended to 550 hours for the last several years. We have approximately 100 officers right now that sworn all the way from officer to command staff up to the chief's office that have are well exceeding 400 hours. So we were asking for a 1-year extension on the extension of that into 2025 so that we can try to have our officers use vacation to include myself.
And then Director, want any additional? Just, okay. Awesome. I see Councilmember Vita. Yeah.
Thank you, Assistant Chief Blackwell. So you're saying you have officers that are close to the 500 who you want just 1 year to get them down to under 400, let's just say that number, or somewhere closer, so that they don't violate the current policy of they would lose the hours if they didn't use the hours by a certain period of time.
Madam Chair, Councilmember, yes, that would be correct. By mid-December, if they don't use it, they lose it.
By mid-December of this year?
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Assistant Chief Blackwell. I did also put myself in queue because I had a couple of questions too. From my understanding, I thought there was a way in which officers under the existing policy could repurpose vacation time. Is that not the case?
Madam Chair, they're allowed up to 80 hours to sell back. Command staff and above, we're not allowed that until January of 2025.
Okay,
So that will
so-
help us tremendously.
So they could repurpose, instead of just outright losing, they could repurpose either through a payout or so if they decide to pursue that.
Correct, but if they are over the 400 hours right now, they would lose it going into January 2025 when it's sold back.
And how many officers, again, because the RCA wasn't fully clear on that, how many officers are currently at that level of potentially losing it?
Madam Chair, about 105.
105. And there's, I believe, three, and this is, I want to make sure I'm looking at all, because there's 3 letter of agreements, right? So this is for the letter agreement of police officers, because there's one for inspectors and commanders, and then assistant chiefs and deputy chiefs. So is this collectively amongst all 3 of those, or just for police officers? Thank you.
Chair Wansley, this is 3 separate LOAs. We have 3 separate bargaining units in which we had to negotiate. So yes, collectively, that is the same initiative to extend the current action through 2025 to allow for vacation to exceed over up to 550 hours.
So the figure for 105 applies only to which bargaining unit?
Madam Chair, that would be all 3.
All 3.
I pulled numbers for all 3.
Okay, so.
Obviously, the majority being sworn officers.
Okay. And then I did have some additional questions too in terms of, I was slightly confused about there not being a fiscal, well, one, the fiscal note attached to this item said $0. And I just wanted to know how a extension for this could have a $0 like fiscal impact. So could staff explain how that is the case?
I can, Chair Wansley, I can answer that question in part. This, the fiscal note, it is not asking for new money. This is a continuum in which the department will have to dissolve the numbers, and we won't know what that dollar amount is through 2025. Finance, I can get those numbers for you to speak to that specifically.
Okay, so I will note that's a staff follow-up memo in terms of the question of,
There's someone coming.
it seems like Vicki would have that in terms of, and since you're also here, you probably can answer the follow-up question that I had. The reason why I'm saying this is because from my understanding, you have to source this within MPD's budget, which I do believe that is referenced in the RCA. So there has to be an appropriation for it. So I wanted to know from where within MPD's current budget is it being appropriated from?
Thank you, Chair Wansley. Vicki Troswick, Finance Director of MPD. The expense, so vacation is held as a liability in our balance sheet. So the only implication is if people left service, then they would get a vacation payout. Otherwise, the increase of the 80 hours is how you calculate it. So it's a little bit complicated in that we don't know who's going to leave, but they won't get paid more than the 2,080 when they take vacation. Additional people will have more that they can carry over. So when it's paid out, that's when we incur the expense.
Okay, so you don't do, I guess, prior appropriation, just a sense of, saying we anticipate based off of prior years that we would likely average around X a number, and then maybe it might be more. So you don't budget according to that either.
Chair Wansley, you're correct.
Okay.
The value, the worst case scenario, if everybody that earned it left, would be like $1.1 million, but that's not the anticipation. So I don't expect a material amount, and so I think we can absorb that in our existing budget.
Okay, is this typical, so just making sure, so this is typical precedence. We don't do prior budgetary planning for these particular, like vacation accruals then?
Chair Wansley, that's correct.
Okay, so in regards to, that is why this was not included in any deliberations with the police contract that we most recently passed this recent July.
Chair, that is my understanding.
Okay, is this something that could be discussed in ongoing or future contracts?
Chair Wansley, absolutely, we can continue the discussion to absolutely try to answer any questions that you may or your office may have with regards to future costing.
I will note my unease because I can't recall, and I might call on Council Vice President Chuck Ty if you also recall this piece, but there was a point during the police contract deliberations where we did ask for definitive numbers for one of the provisions in the police contract where, once again, we could not be provided that to get a full understanding of how much the contract in its totality would be outside of just the $9 million figure. And this being an additional LOA to this contract, it's, again, for us to still be at $0, I would love to know how much this is still going to be. Yes, it's going to be absorbed within MPD's budget, but it's still not cost neutral in the sense of like this is still taxpayer dollars. So there's not an average. There's just based off of a 3-year average of like where we're at. I'm just struggling to get a sense of how we don't have like some level of a figure to be able to present, and we're being asked to approve this today.
I don't have a financial figure, Councilmember Wansley, Chair Wansley.
Okay. I would say that's presenting some unease for me, but I see a number of other council members in queue. I see Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Chair Wansley. The question I have is just going from 400 to 550 hours over what duration? Is that over the course of the contract or an annual amount of hours?
So, Madam Chair, Council Member, so we're looking at going just for the next year. We're trying to get over this hurdle. Our hiring has gotten a lot better, or it is getting a lot better into 2025 for more relief for our officers. I would like to say if we extended it even a few months into 2025, that we would be okay, but then everybody would take vacation at the same time and burn it up, and then we would have a bigger shortfall of staffing on the street. So we asked up through next year, December 31st, 2025, so that we can stagger those, knowing that this is the last year of extension to get through your vacation time, and that we got relief coming from our February classes graduating, our June classes, graduating, and then in the fall.
Mm-hmm. And do you do vacation time in terms of like 8-hour shifts, or can folks take vacation in like 1-hour increments, or does it have to be over a certain amount?
So, Madam Chair, Council Member, that's a great question. It depends. So some officers are assigned like investigative shifts for 8 hours. Some sworn members are assigned 10-hour shifts that are on patrol. Sworn officers, if you're not command staff and above cannot take hourly. They have to take the whole shift or nothing. And then basically officer to lieutenant can take an hour here, a couple hours here if they had to leave early or something came up.
Mm-hmm.
If that answered your question.
And this is all paid vacation time.
Correct.
So it's like, going from 400 to 550 hours for the next year would be like an average of 19 days of paid vacation time. It's like if you take 150 divided by 8, is that the addition that you're using to incentivize staff to stay on? Am I understanding correctly the goal?
The goal is to allow them to use the vacation to burn, we give them vacation. Obviously, they earn that throughout every day they work, right? Mm-hmm. And so the goal for this extension is to allow them time. The longer you've been on, the more you accrue. Mm-hmm. So a lot of our senior sergeants, senior lieutenants, senior officers will gain and accrue a lot more vacation.
Okay.
So it's to give them more time to try to burn this down because
to allow it to roll over
right.
for another year.
Correct, Council Member.
Thank you.
Thank you. I see Vice Chair Palmisano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't really get the budgetary concern here. The hours would have already been paid for in previous years' budgets. So we're not allowing anyone extra. We're just allowing people to carry over their earned paid time off. The point here, I think, is that it's extremely difficult for MPD to use vacation these days due to mandatory overtime shifts and extra shifts and all of that with our staffing. If the same staffing constraints existed in 911 or our fire department, we'd be in the same position with them. But this is special just for MPD, just for right now, and I don't see a problem with it. I also did have an opportunity during agenda setting to ask some of the questions that I had about it, and I just wanted to point that out. This budget concern, I don't see it. We have already incurred the cost of their earned paid time off, and in, I'd say, casual conversations with officers over the years, people who've been working and have families, it is also extraordinarily difficult for them to plan their lives, for them to, for example, how far in advance can you get your kids' baseball schedules so you can try and schedule yourself for time off to ever go see one of their games? It is extraordinarily difficult in these 24/7 staffing jobs to be able to even schedule vacation time in the first place.
Next, I see Vice President Chuck Tai.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assistant Chief Blackwell, can you remind me again, I know you mentioned this earlier, the total number of hours of vacation an officer can, or any member of the police department affected by these letters of agreement can receive as a payout at a given time?
Madam Chair, Councilmember Chugtai, they can receive up to 80 hours.
80 hours, okay. Would you, just speaking from perhaps like an estimate, would you say that the vast majority of the department has at least 80 hours of accrued vacation? Those that are affected by this letter of agreement?
Madam Chair, Councilmember Chugtai, they'd be really difficult to answer. I think it depends on how long you've been on. The longer you've been on, the more likely you have a lot more hours than the newer officers that are coming on. Got it.
I think for me, certainly this is accrued vacation. It has been paid for in the time that officers are working and earning their vacation. What I have questions about is what happens if every person that is eligible to take 80 hours of that vacation in a payout does so. So what would be the budgetary impact of such a thing if everyone who's eligible decided to take out that full maximum 80 hours? That would have a budgetary impact, and I understand those are not numbers that you have available right now, but perhaps whether this is to Director Deloney or to you, Assistant Chief, if you can follow up with that information, that would be helpful in understanding the budgetary impact that this could potentially have.
Madam Chair, Councilmember Chugtai, we can do that. Just so you know that officers, sergeant, lieutenants have always been able to pay back every January. It's just the command staff and above, which is relatively, I think, around 30 additional people.
Yeah,
we can follow up with the other. Great question.
That's really helpful. I think I'm just trying to understand what will the impact be on the department's budget come January if everyone who's eligible decides to take that 80 hours of paid vacation, especially since, I know you're concerned about anyone within the department taking vacation right now, whether it's command staff or officers, sergeants, lieutenants, and a part of the trade-off I would see is, want to make sure that any member who has accrued vacation, any city employee that has accrued vacation is able to actually receive that. But then, if you're not going to be able to plan a vacation in the upcoming year, perhaps it makes more sense actually to get as much as you can paid out, that maximum of 80 hours, so that if we're in the same position come next year. I know last year we did this type of extension to move it up to the number of hours it is right now, and now we're talking about increasing it up to 550. Who knows what next year will bring? So it might be making more sense for folks to receive that 80 hours in a payout right now.
Yes. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you. That's all I've got.
I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah. Did you? Oh, no. No. I just had a couple additional questions, just again, looping it back to police contract opportunities for this to be looped in, especially since Vice President Chuck Tye mentioned this piece of, we're seeing changes be brought forward for this particular piece now for the second time. Can you share, Director Deloney, when will negotiations start taking place again for the next police contract?
Next fall. Chair Wansley, next fall. The current contract expires December 31st of 2025.
2025, okay, right. So do you know if this happened to even come up during this year's, deliberations for the contract? Because it seems like vacation time continues to be a top matter. So did that come up during deliberations by any chance?
Chair Wansley, no.
Okay. And should we be anticipating any additional LOAs? I think that's also the troubling piece, because I know when we first were having conversations about the original police contract, the strategy was we want to rein in the LOAs. And we don't want to have to keep piecemealing the police contract through LOAs. And now we're seeing a bunch of them at the last AO meeting. And I think that's also the concerning piece, and also with very little information, which is also why I'm asking for the budgetary impacts of, yes, what will happen if all of this time is used at once. And then we're also going to have to take up another, request for LOAs right after this item. So I just want to know, are we anticipating additional LOAs to be coming before this body, even going into next year?
Great question, Chair Wansley. At this time, no. The goal is to stay true to our goal, which is to ensure that all of the letters of agreement are appended to the contract. But sometimes there are urgent matters that rise to the level that hence why we're here today, to ensure that we preserve the vacation hours of our officers and sworn staff. But most commonly, we do want to keep it to contract negotiations. That way, any agreements are appended to the labor agreement.
And for our LOAs, I'm just trying to remember for some of the ones that we have passed previously, along with some of the ones that were baked into the contract, these are retroactive also too, are they not? No?
I'm sorry, Chair Wansley, are you speaking to the one that we're talking about, the vacation, in terms of retro, or are you talking other?
Can they be paid retroactively as well? Or in regards to this one?
Chair Wansley, in regards to this one, there would be no need to retro, because it's already something that's in effect.
Okay. So with that, thank you for answering my questions. Mine are good. I see Vice Chair Palmisano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's a lot of things I wanted to negotiate in our last police contract that were never discussed in our police contract. That wasn't ever going to be an exhaustive list of all the things we wanted, but a very small prioritized list of things. And our chief, if he were here, would say the very same thing. None of us got our priorities all taken care of in that last police contract. But it is important to understand that these are earned benefits. And I was wondering, I think I understand it, but I'm not sure if my colleagues do understand earned vacation time and how that is different in these kinds of work classification types versus, say, an employee in public works with a long planned vacation. Like, your vacation can get canceled on you immediately. And I was hoping that someone could help us understand and perhaps appreciate how that vacation time might get absolutely removed from a sworn employee.
Madam Chair, Councilmember Palmisano, so yes, that happens quite frequently. Officers will generally have a vacation bid, so it goes by seniority, and they can't have so many percentage gone at one time on a shift. And because of low numbers, it's generally one officer that's on vacation, can be on vacation at one time for their week or 2 week period. Anything more than that would have to be approved from higher. So when they put in their vacation bid, we generally try not to touch those officers that are on their vacation bid when something urgent happens. But things do happen where it is called back to duty. that there's something going on here, large scale, or an event, or some kind of catastrophe, that we do callbacks and say, you must come in, whether you're an officer all the way up to command staff, especially our supervisors. When we have things that last minute planned, sometimes they're planned events or last minute events that do come up, whether it's 4th of July weekend, canceling days off or calling people back to duty, or some big event that pops up, they have to drop what they're doing. And we expect especially our supervisors and above and specialty teams to, if you're on vacation or not, try to come back in, and we need your help, right? We try to honor the vacations from lower ranking, but command staff especially, and specialty teams, they need to come in, and if you're on vacation or not, we need your help.
And I think that kind of professional courtesy and also managing to that model impacts this. And I think it should impact, it impacts how, I'll just speak for myself. It impacts how I feel about this decision today, and I feel ready to move forward, Madam Chair.
Next is Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, Chair Wansley. Yeah, like Councilmember Palmisano said, I do believe that if staff works for time, if they've earned it, then they should be paid for it. So I appreciate you all, I know it's later in the year, but I appreciate you bringing this forward and making sure that our staff have at least a chance of being paid for hours that they've earned in vacation time. My question, though, is, are you asking for this permanent, or are you just asking for a temporary extension to hopefully get it down to the numbers that we changed the policy to, and hopefully have like a opportunity to reset and start over again?
Madam Chair, council member, yes, we're asking for a 1-year extension just to get through, like I said, as we backfill our department and fill our ranks more going into 2025. It hasn't been for a lack of trying to try to burn down this vacation. I've seen officers all the way up to chief's office trying to burn that vacation time down, but things come up and we have to bring you back to duty. So if we get through 2025, when we're rebuilding our bench a lot more and we're seeing our academy numbers starting to increase, will be helpful for our officers on up to try to burn this vacation time down.
Okay, so just temporarily, just a little bit more time to hopefully get some of these hours down. But we're going back to what was it, 550 was the number we changed the policy to last year or something like that?
Madam Chair, Councilmember Vitae, yes, that's correct.
Okay,
Went from
so
400
that's
to
still the
550.
number, but we're just trying to get it down.
Correct.
Thank you.
With that, I will be making a motion to forward this without recommendation. I know a number of us is going to be following up with you, Director Deloney, around seeing this, again, be incorporated into our police contract negotiations so that we're not constantly dealing with the LOA pathways that we said we're trying to rein in, if we're saying that this is continuously being a top priority. So why not make this be a permanent provision of the contract going forward, instead of having to constantly revisit this every year. So with that, I will make the motion. I need a second. Oh, who's in? Chuck Ty? Vice President Chuck Ty.
I apologize, Madam Chair, thank you. In addition to the numbers that I asked for earlier, I think it'd be really helpful to know how many sworn personnel and personnel within the police department affected by these letters of agreement. In this item, when we did this extension last year to increase that number up to 550, I'd just be curious to know how many personnel in the department took the 80 hours out, had those paid out last year, so we can kind of have a sense of, what sort of range are we looking at this year that the department will be absorbing in cost.
So I do want to make sure we get the two questions that were asked by you, the clerks. There was one for, I recall, budget impact for how many, I believe, how much was appropriated within MPD's budget, which I believe Vicki said she could get that source. And then you also want to know how much was actually taken out from last year's, like that, from that cap.
Yeah, I think, Madam Chair, for the administrative follow-up, the first thing I'm curious to know is if everyone who has 80 hours at least of vacation within the department and falls within one of these letters of agreement, if everyone that is eligible took out the full 80 hours of vacation through through a payout, what would the budgetary impact be that, of course, will be dissolved by the department? And then the second question is understanding in 2024, how many members of the department took out vacation in the form of a payout and what the total cost of that was.
And
Thank you.
then I believe clerks often follow up with us with the questions just to make sure that they're correct. So make sure that your questions are reflected before they're sent to staff too. So with that, thank you, clerks. I did get a second by Vice Chair for that forward without recommendation. With that, if you can do a roll call vote, clerks, on that item.
Councilmember Vita,
Aye.
Allison,
Aye.
Cashman,
Aye.
Chugtai,
Aye.
Vice Chair Palmisano,
Aye.
Chair Wansley.
Aye.
We have 6 ayes.
All right, that motion carries. Next, we're moving to the remaining items on our discussion agenda, which there's 5 of. The first is related to approval of a letter of agreement extension with the Police Federation for Police Department critical staffing overtime. Again, I will invite staff, Director Rashida Deloney from Human Resources, to give a presentation on this item as well.
Thank you, Chair Wansley. This is another letter of agreement through MPD specifically for the Police Federation to extend the current letter of agreement that's in place for another year for critical staffing overtime. I have the chief here, thank you, Chief, that can speak more specifically to the presentation and the reason why MPD is seeking an extension.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Chair. Again, this is essentially just to extend the status quo for 1 more year. The letter of agreement for CSOT was enacted in 2022, shortly before I came here. The start of 2022, there were 645 total sworn members. As of today, that number is down to 577. Of the 577, 519 are active and full duty. Although we have hired more people this year than what we've lost already, the problem is the vast majority of the folks that we are hiring do not become sworn until they're post-eligible. So year to date, we've hired 35 more people for sworn positions than what we've lost, so it's plus 35. But the problem is the majority of those are CSOs and cadets, so they're people that need to go to college, in some cases up to 2 years, before we can then send them to the police academy. Once they become post-eligible and we send them to the police academy, then it's 4 months after that that they're able to come out onto the street. Just in the last 2 months, we've gotten kind of greater control and a better handle over maintaining contact with people that are eligible. And just in the last few weeks, I've seen, a dramatic increase in our ability to keep people engaged and to try and bring them on. So I'm pleased with that, and you will be seeing results from that as soon as January. We've given out 39 job offers for January so far, and I'm trying to get it up to 50. But again, the problem is half of those are cadets, the other half are CSOs, community service officers. So the cadets would need to go to Hennepin Tech from January almost through August, and then they go to the police academy, and then they can go out onto the street. The CSOs, depending on where they are in schooling, it's as much as 2 years before we can send them to the academy. So that's the real issue is, we continue to have attrition. We are hiring more people than what we're losing, but there is this lag time between getting folks to college and then getting them into the police academy. I think next year will be very, very good for the city in terms of hiring, I would say, substantially more people. If we continue on this trend, we're going to get a lot more than what we've got this year. But again, the problem is this lag time. We're getting folks through the college program and then the academy. The CSOT agreement, it's work assignments that are designated by the chief's office. It covers 911 response. It requires everyone that's sworn to work at least one additional day within the 28-day period. It helps 911 response. However, the reality is every single day, every single shift, we are below minimums in precincts. I think it's only been literally once or twice where through regular staffing, we had, I think, a single day where we actually staffed all of the precincts, all shifts. So this continues to deal with that, as well as having sufficient numbers of people working, particularly late at night. We've had an uptick in violence late at night associated with bars. There was an incident last week, this past weekend downtown, but we've seen issues where we need to have additional officers working both in Dinkytown and in Uptown, again related to bar close. And this is specifically what we rely on to staff that, as well as other special details. So I would say this is just trying to maintain the status quo, because for one more year, to give it some time for the folks that we're getting to get through the pipeline and start getting them out onto the street, because we're that much lower than we were as terms of sworn staffing when we entered into this agreement.
Thank you, Chief. Is that the
That's
conclusion of
just-
the presentation?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Yep.
Let's see if there's anyone in queue. Okay, I have added myself. I will note, just for the public record, I know council members did receive a letter from the Communities United Against Police Brutality. I did forward that, just for public record, to our clerks, so that will be sent over to staff, so those concerns can be addressed directly, and that, again, it can be documented for public record. I did also have a couple questions slightly related to the former item the previous item that we discussed. So I'm trying to figure out also, this is another LOA. Was this also another matter that was not brought up during deliberations with the Federation, and could have possibly been included in the contract that we approved this summer?
Chair Wansley, it was not discussed at that time. We really had hopes that we would get our numbers up once we had a successful contract. As the chief has just described, obviously numbers are on the rise, but they're not there yet, which is calling for critical needs on the streets. Hence our request to extend the current LOA.
And then I know you mentioned we're going into negotiations again starting in 2025. I'm interested to know why this is not a matter that can also be addressed then.
The current, Chair Wansley, the current letter of agreement that is in place expires at the end of this year. We're looking at anywhere between 9 to 10 months before we address the next contract. Hence, that would make the current letter of agreement expire. So the urgency to extend this letter of agreement is solely, for the purposes as the chief just discussed, really needing to fill those numbers and address critical matters.
Okay. And then I know in regards to, again, Chief mentioning, of course, staffing concerns in regards to this being a necessary provision for right now. But what I do recall, at least with interim Chief Amelia Huffman, particularly this time last year, I believe actually there were different restrictions put in place that Chief O'Hara, you rolled back pertaining to critical staffing over time. And there were actual different safeguards put in place by Chief or interim Chief Amelia Huffman to basically safeguard both officers from working extensively so they wouldn't put themselves in harm, but also the public at harm from working, again, overworking themselves, which was in response to the dynamic of Officer Noor, Justine Diamond, all the dynamics that were referenced in the settlement agreement around officer wellness, and also making sure we're not paying out more settlement agreements for victims. So I wanted to get a little bit more sense of also how that's being factored into these decisions. So have MPD analyzed the impact of those changes since you made those changes? Since last year, Chief O'Hara?
Sure. Thank you, Chair. So just to be clear, the letter of agreement was written prior to me getting here, and it has not changed. As I referenced earlier, before I got here, there were 645 members of the department. There's 577 today. It is less than what we had before I got here. And the reality is all of them are overworked. They are all tired. They are all exhausted. At the same time, I cannot allow, a shift to go out with no cops, which we've gotten close to that. The first Saturday I was the police chief. Before I was actually the police chief, over the weekend, I rode around that weekend because I didn't get sworn in till a Monday. North Minneapolis had one police car on the street, 2 cops in it. This is the type of thing that had been going on. So I know I'm constantly pushing people to work. We talked about bar close, having this CSOT. Cops a lot of times are not taking it, which is the other problem. And then I'm not going to allow a situation like in Uptown, for example, where I know we need to have extra cops over. So what do? I hold them over beyond their tour. And then they have to come back the next day and work again. So there's absolutely no question that they are working too much and that there is way too much overtime. But I believe the only way to get through this is to drive through it and continue what we're doing, which is I focus every day on trying to get more people in the door. But I'm just up against the time that it takes in this state to get someone post-eligible. I tried for 2 years. I went to the legislature to try and get a way around that if people were coming here with bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, law degrees, so I could just send people to the police academy and get them out on the street. I got nowhere with the state legislature, literally. This is just the reality of the situation that we're in is there are not enough cops for anything. And it wears on me as the police chief because I know the people in this city deserve better. And the cops are just working too much. But I don't know any other way forward than just to keep doing what we're doing and try and get as many young people as we can in the door. Good news is we've already hired this year, we've already hired more lateral officers from other places in Minnesota than we ever did before, and that's a steady stream. And it looks like for the foreseeable future, we'll be able to add a couple of laterals each month going into next year. And so that's positive. But just for now, we just don't have enough people.
So just going back to the original question. So first, you mentioned you did not make any changes to
I did not
the
make
policy
any, yes.
that Interim Chief Amelia had put in place the safeguards around critical staffing over time.
So yes, Chair, this is an MOA. It remains the same as it was. What was happening when I got here is there were policies about working overtime that absolutely no one was checking. So the rules around overtime were based on the week, the week, and in reality, the system measures it by pay period. So I put it in line with the pay period, which is what we have now. And I put someone in charge of compliance, and they're still, checking to ensure that there is compliance. But that's particularly around off-duty work and part-time. This is dealing with stuff that's on duty, and that, quite frankly, a lot of times becomes mandatory, regardless of what the rules are, that we have otherwise. It becomes public safety issues with, if there aren't enough cops working on the next shift and we have to hold 2 people over a number of hours till we get people in. Those types of things are difficult but necessary.
And then I know we've had this continuous conversation again around the updated staffing study. And trying to get a sense of when that's coming forward, because there's also this ongoing discussion around the usage of existing resources. And I think you've been very intentional about that piece of how are we able, with 517 officers now, able to see just drastic changes in crime in terms of reduction that we have not seen in decades when we're talking about homicides and gross, serious offenses at 517 that we didn't see when we were closer to our fully chartered numbers of, almost 800 officers. And that staffing study making recommendations around how we're using even existing sworn officers at some lower levels. So wanted to get a sense of where are we at in making progress on that, which might offer some assistance on how we also get a better sense of, deployment of existing resources.
Thank you, Chair. I can follow up with that, but even that, for example, factors in, what percentage of time do you want for officers to be doing things other than 911 response? And it's just the reality now, on the busiest shifts, there is no time. There's constantly calls holding in the queue. We're constantly not getting on scene, as quickly as we should. And, we could look at these things across the board and say, well, yeah, there's time available, I don't know, between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. when they're not going from call to call. But that's not the best time to try and do community engagement either. So I think some of it has been a little bit oversimplified, but to me, the greatest thing that I see every day when I'm out here and the complaints that I'm getting from communities is just there just aren't enough people.
No, and I think, again, we're seeing deployment of people, and I think also we've had this conversation of, where people are being utilized. For instance, like we're having the conversation of civilian investigators, for instance, of we want to make sure that cases are being followed up on, and people are not receiving follow-up on that. And we are not maybe maximizing resources in that level so that people can, see that backlog when it relates to homicide or traffic cases being also decreased. So just trying to also just make sure we're fully looking at all the ways in which we're decreasing backlogs and maximizing existing resources, but using data. And I'm glad you mentioned the tracking piece, because I did want to know if you're analyzing, and this might be maybe a series of staff follow-up if you don't have actual numbers right now. Do you have any data that shows or can give us estimates on how many officers are picking up more shifts than, let's say, before any policy changes like last year?
Chair, I'm sure we have that. I just don't have it readily available.
So another matter, staff, clerks follow up. And then, again, does staff know the percentage of officers who have picked up critical staffing overtime shifts who were working past 6 days in a row? No?
Chair, no.
No? Okay. Also, I will follow up on that one. You probably could explain this one. Can you explain the scope of what qualifies a shift as critical, especially share some examples? I know you even mentioned this, does MPD use critical staffing time for, you mentioned Dinkytown, but does this also include encampment clearings, for instance?
Yep. Chair, so yes, when encampment clearings are scheduled and they need a number of officers that we don't have, yes, it does include, or at least it has included encampment closures in the past. 911 staffing, it does. It's not every open shift for 911 staffing. So there are people that are working 911 on regular overtime, and then unfortunately, there are times when, those shifts, regular or otherwise, are not filled either. The investigators are also required to work at least one critical staffing shift a month. But as of late, we have allowed them to work that shift to try and close out cases because of the backlog with cases that we have. So there are those procedures in place, and I could ask the assistant chief to go through operationally what that looks like in terms of how the commanders are actually doing it. But essentially, no one other than the chief's office is allowed to approve a shift that may be critical staffing as opposed to regular overtime.
And then also any tracking or estimates on like the overall hours allowed for MPD officers to work in uniform, including off-duty, because you mentioned that piece too. So we're tracking again how many officers are just overall, yeah.
You don't have that offhand, do you?
How many total hours?
Yeah, you did good.
Chair Wansley, for the total number of CSOT hours? So in '23, the year total was 112,000, and in '24, we're projected at 138,000. We're currently at 115,000 hours for
Okay.
CSOT.
And this again, including off-duty, and this is per week basis.
Chair would not include off-duty.
Okay, I would, if there's a follow-up staff memo to include off-duty.
Is that from workforce or no?
No comment.
Okay.
But off-duty, it's not our payroll.
Right, correct. Yeah.
Chair, sorry, it would not include off-duty. We don't count that.
Okay. I think it's important, again, just making sure, I mentioned in uniform, so everyone, because contrary to the public, I mean, we have been told there is tracking of that now through a database and making sure that folks know, like, yeah, we have an understanding of how many officers are, or hours officers are working total.
So, Chair, if I may clarify, the finance director is speaking in terms of budget. So this is money coming from the system through Comet. Separately, we have implemented, this is part of the compliance checks, making sure people are entering their off-duty time into the workforce director, which would then give you a picture of everything the individual person in uniform is working. So yes, we have it, it's just a different system.
Right, so that's what I'm saying, if there's a way to even just
Yes.
get that in a staff follow-up of like, when they're doing critical overtime.
Yep.
Also, off-duty, any other, like, assignment when they're in uniform.
Yes, Chair, we have that.
Comprehensively.
And that was my point earlier, is that just having a system like that is not enough if it requires someone to voluntarily tell us information we don't have. And that's the whole point of implementing compliance checks, is to make sure that people are actually doing that. Otherwise, the information you have is useless.
Gotcha. And then last question is actually city attorneys. I just want to make sure our city attorneys were specifically involved in this, especially since we have you all up on discussion. And a part of the discussion is around mitigation efforts, because my whole basis and why I asked the question regarding to if there were any changes made in response to former interim Chief Amelia's safeguards that were put in place is making sure we're not creating a dynamic where we're going to put officers in a predicament where they're going to be over fatigued to the point where they're creating risk for themselves, or then for the public, where we're currently in this dynamic of then paying out millions of dollars for either officer misconduct or for PTSD claims. So I just want to make sure that the city attorneys was also involved in the review of this.
Chair wants, if you want, I can get back to you on that. It's outside of the area of work that I do, so I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, awesome. And then probably, actually, last question for, this might be Vicky, because this is related to the fiscal note, but it is noted that the year-to-date amount is over 12 million, and it's unclear what MPD might expect the total amount to be in 2025, but I guess I want to know, what is the department anticipating? Because that wasn't clear from the fiscal note.
Chair Wansley, I don't have 25 calculated because of the new contract rates and the timing of that. I have not been able to review that. Projected for 2024 is 14.4 on the CSOT.
Gotcha, 14, okay. Great. All right, so with that, I do see Council Vice President Chuck Tyonque.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to make sure I understood, Chief, when you were speaking earlier, to the amount of recruitment into the department. If memory serves, when you were presenting your budget, one of the things that we learned was the vast majority of new recruits were lateral hires, and I'm just trying to understand that discrepancy between lateral hires versus those that then need to go through additional steps to become post-eligible.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Council Vice President. It's definitely not a majority. that are lateral hires. It's more than we've ever had before, but it's definitely not a majority. We're getting a great group of people that are applying. It's majority minority. There's a whole lot of diversity. There's people from the city that are coming in. But we're not, laterals are a piece of it. It's a small piece of it. But it's more than what we've ever had before. And we've been trying to hire some laterals every month. We had 2 that started this month, a third one deferred to next month. And we just, we're giving job offers out to 8 additional laterals to offer them to start next month. So it's a good thing, but it's definitely not the majority in terms of numbers.
Could you speak to the breakdown of laterals versus?
Sure. Chair, Vice President. So year to date, we've hired 68 people for sworn positions, which is 35 more than what we've lost so far. And the way it breaks down is laterals, there's been 3 rehires this year. So those are people who worked here that then came back, left to go somewhere else, and they came back. Then there's been 17 laterals, 14 recruits, which are people who are post-eligible. They can go right into the police academy. 11 cadets so far. Those are people who have either bachelor's or master's degrees. They just have to go to Hennepin Tech for 8 months, and then they can go to the academy. 21 CSOs, which are the people we hire. They get their 2-year degree and then go to the academy. And 5 interns, pathway interns. And the way we use the interns is if we get someone that wants to work here, and however the timing is, with school, their school program isn't going to start for a year or several months, we'll bring them on as an intern just so that we don't lose them before the CSO program starts.
Got it.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, I see Vice Chair Palmisano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The lag time that you describe is frustrating, but it's good to hear about the numbers coming into the department. That is ultimately our solution to this overtime issue as well as the vacation hours issue. This is how we can eliminate the need for future letters of agreement, and these are temporary. None of these letters of agreement are things that carry on indefinitely, and we're left with them, years from now. But there is a rumor or impression out there that officers won't look at regular overtime until there's double overtime. Is there truth to that impression or rumor? Because I'm not sure that's really how it works. So I guess my question to you, Chief, is do you see potential misuse of this type of an agreement, and do you have any levers to pull to cut down on that if there is a potential to misuse it?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Vice Chair. So yes, there is, aside from the MOU, there is policy in place to prevent that. But the difficult part winds up being you can have a situation where, we're both doing the same job, but I'm getting paid overtime and you're getting paid CSOT because of the way it played out. So, CSOT it has to be approved, if not by me, by one of the deputy chiefs. People cannot, schedule, it cannot be as a result of unscheduled paid leave, and they can't, they cannot move around their days to accommodate it. The shift supervisors are the ones that are primarily responsible for kind of balancing out the schedule beforehand and trying to plan things out in advance and try to get people to work additional shifts. But the reality is, as low as we are posting days in advance and not able to get people it's below minimum. And then if you have 1 or 2 people call out sick that day, it makes it that much worse. So there are people that do overtime. There is still regular overtime. But it is not a desirable situation to be in. Because you wind up having these disparities. The biggest piece that we do rely on it for is to get people to come in in large numbers for shifts that are undesirable. Frankly, coming in late at night to do the bar close, to stand out there for hours and that kind of thing, and then also when we have needed it, around encampment closures and that type of thing. So it is an issue that we have the disparity with people, some people making overtime, some people making CSOT, but it is what has been proven necessary just to get enough numbers of people to work certain shifts.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. I don't see anyone in queue. I will name, I'm still having a few outstanding questions I would like to follow up with you. And this honestly goes back to my original piece around, I want to know what's going on with the update around the staffing study, because I think this gets back at the ongoing question of like, how are we deploying existing resources, because we're bleeding out in other ways that is not sustainable. So I don't feel comfortable moving forward with this. I will be making the motion to at least continue one cycle, which allows us to take this up the first thing, the next cycle. And I will ask for a second on that, but I also see Vice Chair Palmisano.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I'm just curious if we could ask the chief or someone else who might know, at what point in time, if we don't approve this, would not having critical staffing overtime start to impact the staffing of the department? Because the way I read it, it would be the beginning of next year, in which case maybe if you could get all of your questions answered, we could move it forward without a recommendation and then see if by the time of the council meeting you get your questions answered. But my question is first for the chief, when would this start to impact staffing if we can't move forward on this cycle?
Chair, Vice Chair, January 1st.
Thank you. And I will ask this question then, because again, for me, this is the last AO cycle also. So if this was also something that was super pressing, I would love to know why this was not brought forward in 4 cycles in advance.
Chair Wansley, this is something that we have to work with the union to get an agreement on, and so that takes time to do. But just based on timing, we were able to submit it by the deadline for this cycle. But the work to extend it had began well before.
So when were the conversation started on this topic? Because I did mention earlier, or raise the question earlier, of why wasn't this introduced in the conversations around the original police contract to then be incorporated, which you said that was not brought up then. So if it was not brought up and the conversations relate to the police contract, when did it become introduced in order for us to have consideration of it for a LOA for today?
Chair Wansley, contract negotiations and the LOAs are 2 different separate timings. Contract negotiations for the police contract concluded back in June, as you know. I want to say a few months after, MPD discovered that really the numbers are not changing. The need to extend the letter of agreement still persists. Hence, our work from my shop with the union to extend the LOA began. So it wasn't identified at that time during contract negotiations. We felt secure through the end of this year, which is where the letter of agreement extends through. Given MPD's current numbers and struggles, there was a discussion and need to extend it based on those mitigating factors. So the discussions following contract negotiations was much later.
So we wrapped up contract negotiations. So we passed the contract in July. So you're saying that the conversations didn't happen around this until after July?
Chair Wansley, that is correct.
Okay. And then you weren't able to get a finalized agreement around this until it took essentially 4 months for that. Okay. I will still name that, and with this LOA, it still follows the same expiration deadline as all the other LOAs of December of next year, 2025. Is that correct? Yes.
Chair Wansley, that is correct. We are seeking an extension for this LOA to extend through December 31st of 25.
So extending this or laying this over till the first cycle of January of next year still means that if it is approved within the next cycle of January of next year, it still has the same expiration date of December of next year.
Chair Wansley, that's incorrect. The current LOA in place that's attached to the contract is set to expire December 31st of 2024. We are seeking to extend the LOA beyond 2024 because the chief, as he's described, he's going to see an impact as of January 1st of 25. We really are seeking to extend the LOA through December 31st of 2025 to try to mitigate those numbers.
Okay, so the current LOA has December of this year is going to expire.
Chair Wansley, that is correct.
Okay, that is good clarification. With that, I will then make the motion to forward without recommendation. Yeah. With that, I will call the clerks to do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Vita,
Aye.
Allison,
Aye.
Cashman,
Aye.
Chuktai,
Aye.
Vice Chair Palmisano,
Aye.
Chair Wansley.
Aye.
We have 6 ayes.
All right, that motion carries. Next, we do have a presentation from our city attorneys. Sorry, actually, no, presentation related to contract amendments for multiple vendors for our community trauma response services. So I will now invite staff to come forward to give that presentation.
Thank you. It's on the desktop? Oh, thank you. All right. Thank you for that. Good afternoon, Chair Wansley, council members. Thank you for allowing us some time to talk about Community Trauma Response Initiative with the Neighborhood Safety Department. I'm Luana Nelson Brown, the Director of the Neighborhood Safety Department, and also with me today are my Deputy Director, Leah Lakes, as well as my Associate Director of Compliance, Shanique Ruo-Hamaki. I clearly clicked stuff that took us through. Okay. We've got a brief presentation to go through an overview of the program. We're also going to go through an explanation of the request for proposal planning process and how we plan this proposal, the process itself, including evaluation, how we selected organizations, reporting requirements that are aligned with this particular initiative, and then we'll have some time for questions. I'll try not to keep you too long. So this initiative is funded with ARPA funds, and our Community Trauma Response Initiative, it would fit within the restorative services category. So NSD covers, in alignment with the Safe and Thriving Community Report, preventative services, response services, and restorative services. And community trauma response falls into the restorative services. We were asking for community members to have support who have needs related to the trauma of being impacted by violence. And with this initiative, we are partnering with organizations that provide community-driven support for those survivors. In the planning process, as we were putting this initiative together, we leaned very heavily on the Victims of Crime Act, which is a national framework for providing support to victims of crime and restorative services. So we designed this initiative to align with those principles that are a national framework. VOCA focuses on providing trauma-informed services that help individuals and communities heal from violence, and it addresses both immediate needs and long-term recovery. So we designed this to align with that. In this RFP, we encouraged applicants to propose community-led strategies that reflect their expertise and the specific needs of the populations they serve, while also ensuring that the activities are consistent with the trauma-informed principles outlined by VOCA. So this includes services like mental health support, victim advocacy, resource coordination, and culturally sensitive healing practices that empower individuals and communities. Okay. So this is a quick look at the evaluation process. We're going to go through from start to finish. Well, actually, that's wrong. Let me go back. I'm missing it. Here we go. So we're going to go through from start to finish, from the submission of the RFP, the request for proposal, all the way through evaluation. So the first thing that we do is we draft the RFP in our department, finalize that draft, and then that draft goes to procurement and is assigned a buyer. That buyer then reviews that draft and proposes edits, changes, and suggestions. Once that's received, then that RFP draft goes to the Permanent Review Committee. That committee is made up of 13 individuals from across city departments. So legal is represented on that committee, procurement is represented on that committee, finance is represented, the grant staff is represented. So when we're putting together a proposal, it is a collaborative effort across the enterprise, not just a proposal drafted by Neighborhood Safety Department, but we ensure that we're collaborative in the proposals that we present. So the Permanent Review Committee reviews that proposal and then also offers edits, suggestions, and feedback. And we're not able to move forward until we are all in agreement and we receive approval from the PRC committee. Once that happens, Civil Rights reviews, and they check that proposal over to see if there's a need for sub-P goals, which are goals that are used to ensure that minority-owned businesses and women-owned businesses have a fair shake in the process. That happened with this RFP as well. Once all of those approvals are met, then the RFP is posted publicly for a minimum of 3 weeks. That is a best practice that is recommended by procurement and a part of the city process. When it's posted, it is also sent out to the Gov Delivery subscriber system. So the procurement department has over 7,500 subscribers that receive notice of the RFPs when they're posted. In the case of this RFP, it went out to 7,619 subscribers. In addition to that, the Target Market Program suppliers are also invited to apply through eSupplier. And in the case of this proposal, once that happened, we only received one application. And so in order to encourage more applicants, I directed staff to reach out to an additional 15 eligible organizations to try to get more interest in this proposal. And that worked. What we ended up receiving was a total of 4 applicants, and we moved forward with those 4. Before the RFP closes, though, we do hold a public pre-proposal meeting, and we host that in collaboration with procurement. And at that meeting, anyone interested in applying is able to ask questions, get clarity on the proposal, what the services are that we're looking for, and we have a public question and answer period posted for people to submit written questions as well, and then we respond in writing. And then the proposal closes for submission of the applications. This particular proposal closed on May 23rd of 2024, and we ended up, I'm sorry, I said 4 applicants. We ended up with a total of 25 applicants with this proposal. At this point, once we know who has applied, this is where the conflict of interest policy kicks in. So there is a conflict of interest process both with employees and staff of the department, as well as those who are going to review the proposal. Once an employee, employees are responsible for alerting us of a potential conflict of interest. And in this case, that did happen. Once the department head or the immediate supervisor is notified, then we immediately go to the city attorney to start discussions. And this is in line with the code of ordinances that you'll see on that screen and can be found there. And in this case, that's exactly what we did. So we have multiple discussions to determine whether or not that conflict of interest actually exists. And whether it exists or not, we still receive recommendations from the city attorney on how to move forward. And in this case, the recommendation which we took was to remove the employee from all other orders of business with this proposal and anything to do with this reward. And that's what happened in this case. In addition to that, we also check for conflicts of interest with reviewers who are going to review the application. At this point, we don't have the full applications. We simply have the names of the organizations that have applied. And we ask reviewers to review those names and identify if they may have a potential conflict of interest, and then sign a form letting us know yes or no. If they say yes, whether an actual conflict exists or not, we ask them to recuse themselves from review, and we find different reviewers. Once that process is over, procurement receives all of that information, and once they check that information for compliance, then they release those applications to the department and the formal review process begins. Before evaluators or reviewers receive those applications, we have a briefing with those reviewers on expectations, on best practices and review, on confidentiality requirements, and talk a little bit about the mitigation of their own biases. And then they receive the applications. In this process, with this initiative, we did what's called a one-tier evaluation, which means the reviewers read and scored those applications, and then those scores were averaged so that one reviewer can't heavily skew the results of the applications. They were averaged, and then the department receives the top scoring responders and starts contract negotiations. So some processes do a two-tier evaluation, but it is a best practice to do a one-tier, and that is what we did in this case. Procurement also reviews our evaluation materials before we put those into practice to ensure they're in compliance. And then in this case, out of the 25 proposals we received, 12 organizations were awarded, or they were sent letters of intent to award, and then negotiations began with those 12 top scorers. We do negotiations because, and particularly in this case, we had some applications that requested large amounts of money to do this work in their budgets, but we wanted to ensure a diversity of services across the city, diversity geographically across the city, and since this is a shortened time period, we wanted to ensure that work plans were consistent with being able to spend down the funds in the shortened amount of period. So we started negotiations with those 12 those 12 organizations. We required them to send us a work plan, a weekly work plan that they will follow as they do this work, and send us a finalized budget based on the proposed amount that we propose to award. All 12 were able to do that, and we were satisfied with what they submitted. But we also then submitted all of that information to the city finance officer for approval, and to get the approval to actually use ARPA funds for this initiative. We also collaborated at that point with procurement and the organizations to make sure that the contract and the work plan and the budget all met city contract requirements. And we collaborated with the city attorney's office to ensure we were in compliance with ARPA funds. After all of that, we collaborated with performance management, PMI, to align reporting requirements. So in this initiative, from the beginning, organizations that are funded will be required to submit a report that helps us to determine success, and will also help us determine where gaps exist and inform us on our next RFPs if we move forward with this initiative. So PMI did help us to create a pilot report that we're piloting with this initiative. Finally, procurement creates and finalizes the contract and then routes it for signatures for all parties. So what you see now is a look at the selected organizations that were selected with intent to fund, and you'll see the 12 there. This is also included in the RCA, and the RCA has a bit more detailed information. I didn't want to crowd the slide up with, all of that. But just a quick run through, you'll see A Mother's Love in wards 4 or 5 in District 2 of Hennepin County. And they provide, I actually have that here. They provide safety training for youth, particularly girls and women who use public transportation, and other things that you can see on the RCA. Black Business Enterprise was recommended. They are in the North and South Minneapolis neighborhoods. Their initiative is to support Black women and girls with immediate crisis intervention, ongoing trauma-informed counseling, and financial literacy workshops to promote independence, safe housing, relocation assistance, and community healing through workshops. The Center for Multicultural Communication is piloting a 2-generation approach in the Cedar Riverside and Phillips neighborhoods. Their programs offer education, mental health support, and basic needs assistance, while also incorporating Somali mediation practices to help resolve issues like school disengagement and justice system involvement. Change Starts with Community is focusing in the North Minneapolis area within specific neighborhoods that are listed in the RCA. And their activities include trauma recovery groups for youth, family-centered services, crisis intervention, rapid housing, and long-term recovery programs for survivors. The Domestic Abuse Project, is providing services across Minneapolis, focusing on reaching diverse and often underserved communities, but they do have offices in Northeast Minneapolis, as well as a satellite location at Little Earth in South Minneapolis, and a pop-up here in the downtown area. They support individuals and families at all stages of life, and their activities include therapy for individuals and families, crisis intervention, legal advocacy, case management, and they have a newly introduced wellness clinic that provides holistic healing. Formation Healing Arts particularly serves LGBTQ to 5 BIPOC survivors of violence in Minneapolis, with a focus on high-need areas like Uptown, Powderhorn, and Phillips. They do group sessions on heart math techniques. Greater Minneapolis Council of Churches supports BIPOC and economically disadvantaged individuals and families, particularly in the Phillips neighborhood of South Minneapolis. And they provide a weekly drop-in center that offers critical resources like hygiene supplies, clean clothing, mental health counseling, and others. Let's Learn Collectively on Our Life's Journey provides reading out loud literacy initiative in South Minneapolis, targeting several specific neighborhoods that you can find in the RCA. Their activities builds literacy skills while also teaching valuable skills in program development, financial literacy, and addressing the literacy gap. Neighborhood Health Source is on the north side. I'm going to try to wrap it up a little bit here. This program engages with youth aged 13 to 17, and they create and implement community projects that focus on healing. New Salem Missionary Baptist Church is continuing its work to address trauma and supporting those affected by violence in the local community. Queermunity continues supporting LGBTQIA individuals affected by trauma and violence, and Salem Inc. provides a variety of services to support individuals who face challenges accessing mainstream services. So with the report that I mentioned a little bit earlier that we're piloting with this initiative, we made sure to align that report with the Safe and Thriving Communities report. One of the things the Safe and Thriving Communities report outlines is that this area of restoration often gets the least amount of focus, and there are three specific categories within restoration that is suggested that we focus on. And so we use this opportunity to create the report to align with those three areas, which are trauma and healing services, justice and reentry services, and resilience-oriented services. I'm going to pause for just a moment to see if my deputy director or associate director have anything to add. Okay, great. Ooh, what did I do? Oh, I fixed it, whatever it is. And here you can find the performance metrics that are included in that piloted report. You can see that they are a mix of both quantitative and qualitative metrics, including number of activities, total number of individuals served, but also information from pre- and post-program surveys and summary statistics to assess the program's impact. Unless there is there anything you'd like to add? Okay. All right. That is all. And happy to take questions. Sorry, it was a little boring.
No, not at all. Thank you, Director Nelson Brown. Actually, a few weeks ago, this body received a committee report on ARPA spending related to the community trauma response programs. And I know my office, along with a number of other council members, had a couple of questions regarding, information related to how did we land with the selection of some of the contractors who were selected to do some of the community-led work that folks were excited to see, but wanted to know more about demonstrated expertise and experience. And I know at that time you agreed to provide that information prior to I believe our last AO meeting, which happened 2 weeks ago, but that did not happen. So thank you for at least agreeing to provide it now at our last AO meeting. And I think that has helped to provide a lot of clarity. And this was a very comprehensive presentation. So thank you for that. And with that, I do see a number of my colleagues in queue, and I'll start with Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, Chair Wansley. I would agree. This is a really good presentation. It really it's probably the best one I've seen because it does lay out this how we got to this place with these grants, who's going to be doing it. I'm familiar with some of the groups that you have checked off as working in Northside, and I know their work. They've helped out for free in a lot of instances. So to see them listed here and have some compensation for the great work that they've been doing that I'm familiar with in North Minneapolis is extremely helpful. I can only imagine that they had some good proposals because that is the process.
Correct.
So thank you so much to the selection team also. But I just really wanted to thank you for ending this year with a really positive presentation that speaks to the work that is going to continue to happen, in particular in North Minneapolis. I really appreciate this. I appreciate you kind of taking a step back and listening to council members and what we get questions about. That it feels like that is in this presentation. I feel like I have something to start with folks on what these trauma response grants are going to do and who's going to be facilitating them. So thank you so much, Director Nelson Brown.
Thank you, council member.
Thank you. And next, I see Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Chair Wansley, and thank you, Director Nelson Brown, for the presentation. My question is more on the side of someone accessing these services. Can you help me explain a little bit? You know, there were some pretty violent instances that happened downtown in my ward this weekend. So in the case of someone in my community who needs this kind of help, how do they access this? Is it through an MPD case and referral process, or can they access these services directly without that?
Thank you, Chair Wansley, and thank you for the question, Councilmember Cashman. So there are multiple ways that folks can access these services. Particularly for us, our immediate point of access comes through our community navigators, who you know will be moving over to MPD. This is one of those areas where our two departments touch. The community navigators are well aware of these services and have a list of these services and contact information. We are also making an effort to share resources amongst all of our funded programs that all touch the community in some way. So violence interrupters will also have this information. These funded organizations will have information for violence interrupters. And then we are also now moving forward and working with other agencies across the city, like Hennepin County, Safe Communities, as well as, what is it called? Help me. No, human resource, it's not human, I'm going to turn to the commissioner. Jared's not in here. Never mind. And we're all meeting on a regular basis specifically to share information around these resources. I'm going to ask if anyone had anything to add. I don't remember if specifically there was advertising involved. Do you remember? Okay. So we're getting the word out as best we can. We also would be, we're considering coming to your wards as well to educate your community. I know a lot of council members have newsletters, you have coalition meetings, and we are at a point now where we are able to collaborate with all of you to also get the word out on these initiatives, and would be happy to take suggestions as well, particularly as we move forward with more RFPs that are going to be coming throughout 2025. So thank you.
Thank you. I guess I would, there are some members of our community who would not like to work through MPD because that doesn't make them feel safe.
Correct.
And I'm particularly thinking of the trans girls who were attacked downtown last weekend that were not kept safe by the police response nor the Metro Transit police response. And so I'm really glad to see Queermunity is on here, but I think that having referral processes that are beyond MPD, not involving MPD, is a really good way to make sure people can actually benefit from these resources. But thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing these contracts get delivered, and congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that was a very strong focus of ours, that this be community-led and community-run. So thank you for that encouragement.
Thank you. I see Councilmember Vital.
Thank you, Chair Wansley. I'm going to recuse myself from just the number one in this contract because of a previous letter sent to the city attorney's office. So it's the Black Business Enterprise Fund.
Okay.
They're the grantee. So just that, not the full, but just that one group.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. And then I did put myself in queue. In response to Councilmember Cashman's point around the MPD referral. One thing I did want to note, when we created the ordinance for the Office of Community Safety, and specifically also Neighborhood Safety Department, we made it very clear there was a boundary between our non-MPD safety services and also MPD. So it would be really weird if that is the only referral part for accessing our non-MPD safety services, since we were very intentional of baking that into the policy. So I would love to be part of any process of making sure, again, like Councilmember Cashman, that these services are being put out into the community outside of other or through other channels. I mean, your whole department is to exist to do work outside of MPD.
Right.
So more than happy to support those means, Councilmember Cashman. But with that, thank you for this presentation. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Chair Wansley, I just want to say, like, in my experience, those organizations who receive the funding do a lot of outreach themselves. I know that there is a MPD component of it. Like, say, for instance, there's a shooting or something, and MPD calls folks out for resources for something that happens at the scene. But majority of the work comes from these organizations who receive the funding, doing the outreach, having offices and community initiatives set up where people access the services maybe directly or through an organization like North Point or in some other way. There's a lot of partnership that goes into this work, and there's a lot of ways that people connect. I know MPD is one, but it is not the primary by any means of connecting to this work. It's a very small part of how people get the resources for these contracts.
Absolutely. I think Councilmember Cashman was thinking of how do you access on the city side, so making sure the clarification is not just through an MPD referral on our end. But yes, our groups are absolutely doing their due diligence.
Yeah.
So with that, I will move this item for approval. So we can do a roll call vote, and Councilmember Vita can do so with the exception of item number 1, where she will be recusing herself.
So Councilmember Vita is voting aye.
Aye on everything
Yes.
except I'm
30.1.
abstaining on 30.1.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Councilmember Ellison? Aye. Cashman?
Aye.
Chugtai?
Aye.
Vice Chair Palmisano?
Aye.
Chair Wansley?
Aye.
We have 6 ayes on agenda item 30.2 through .12 and 5 ayes on 30.1.
Awesome, and that motion carries. And then before we get to our last item, which will be a presentation from the city attorney's office related to the civil division and on legal services provided to the city enterprise, I figure we might as well just take up the postponement of items 32 and items 33, data practices and the SREAP update. So those next 2 items, again, consist of presentations from the city clerk's office providing a response to a staff direction, and a presentation from the Office of Public Service providing an update on the strategic racial equity analysis plan. I'm going to be moving to postpone both of those presentations to our next AO presentation. Next AO meeting on January 6th. So if there's no discussion on that, I don't believe I need a second for that, so I figure we can just take care of that. With that, I already see Deputy City Attorney Nelson loading up their presentation and are ready to present.
Okay, thank you, Chair Wansley, committee members for having us today. Hopefully I've got this queued up correctly. We're here to give you a brief overview of the civil side legal practice of the City Attorney's Office.
We might need clerk's help, oh, there we go.
Thank you. Again, I think I neglected to introduce myself. Eric Nilsson, Deputy City Attorney for the Minneapolis City Attorney's Office on the civil side. We're here to give you a brief overview of the civil legal practice of the City Attorney's Office with a focus on how the division seeks to minimize and manage risk for the city. I'm going to give just a brief overview of the management team, and then we'll have each management team member come up, present themselves, and talk about the practice of their business line. I think this is good. During budget presentations, a lot of times you'll see org charts that have a name on it, and perhaps you haven't been able to put a face to a name. So this is also a good opportunity for them to introduce themselves and the work of the really good work of their team. Per the city charter, the City Attorney's Office serves as the legal counsel for the city writ large, for all elected officials, both mayor and council, for council committees, department heads, staff, boards, and commissions. And the practice of civil law for a governmental entity, but particularly a city, is uniquely rewarding and challenging. Civil municipal law practitioners are expected in a sense to be generalists. We handle an extremely wide variety of legal issues every day. From one day to the next can handle completely disparate issues. And as you can imagine, all of our attorney peers who have gone into private sector work have likely spent careers specializing in one particular area of the law, or working for an organization with a sort of a narrower set of issues that they work on. And our attorneys, both on the client services side but particularly on the litigation side, have cases and issues with these attorneys every day, and they excel as they do it, and they're very successful. I would put our civil division attorneys stand them up against any attorneys in the state, frankly. So before I introduce the team, I do have to just say one thing, that I think it's a bit ironic that there is another agenda item on today's agenda questioning the legal staffing model for the city. Our attorneys provide consistent, high caliber legal advice. It doesn't change based on the recipient. I frankly find it offensive personally, and I know that many members of the division will too, and so I think that's unfortunate. The civil division practice has four main business lines.
I will name, sorry, Deputy, as we do with any other member here, it was an ascribing motive. I would ask that you also do the same.
Understood. I'm just
Thank you.
All right. Being genuine.
You can proceed with your presentation.
I will. There are four main division lines in the civil division: a civil litigation team that primarily handles defense, but can also initiate plaintiff-based litigation upon request to the council and approval. The implementation unit, which is the team of attorneys devoted to the MDHR and DOJ matters. Client services, which serves as the in-house legal counsel for the various city departments and business lines. And there are two managing attorneys on the client services side that I will introduce. And then the labor and employment team, so the HR, LR lawyers. There are five managing attorneys for the four business lines. And I'll introduce them in order of tenure. There's Nikki Newman, who is the client services managing attorney focused on CPED, so primarily on real estate, municipal finance, and transactional matters. Next up would be Jennifer Saunders, who is the managing attorney for the implementation team. She has spent the bulk of her career for the criminal division, but has now been welcomed on the civil division. Then following that would be Tracy Fussy, who is the managing attorney for our litigation team. And then next up would be Sarah Riskin, who is the managing attorney for our labor and employment team. And then finally, last but not least, who you all have met, he's the AEO committee liaison, is Dan Abelson, who is our newest managing attorney on the client services side. So with that, I'd like to introduce Tracy Fussy to start the presentation.
Good afternoon, Chair, Council. I'm delighted to be here to give you a little brief overview of what myself, the 10 litigators that I manage, the 5 paralegals, and the civil investigator. They have been doing absolutely tremendous work, and many times we have met and discussed our matters with you. The whole purpose of a litigator is to zealously advocate for its client. The client here is the city and almost all of its employees. We handle everything that comes through the door generally, but you can kind of place what we do in two categories. One would be defending this body's legislative initiatives. And so speaking in shorthand of some of the ordinances that you guys have passed, sick and safe, minimum wage, Section 8, 2040 plan. We defend all of those actions, and we do so vigorously and generally to great success. The risk management side of what we do is going to be defending in lawsuits, claims, administrative hearings. The litigators do so by working in groups and individually to strategize the best course of action. When we receive a new matter in, we will determine what the facts are, what the strengths and weaknesses are. We will strategize the best case analysis for how to go forth and putting forth the best risk mitigating outcome that we can. I can say that this group that I manage are generally internally motivated. Litigators in general are very competitive, and I don't have to manage them to any strong degree because they are all wanting the best outcome for the city and for their clients. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, Council Chair Walmsley and council members of this committee. My name is Jennifer Saunders. I am the managing attorney over the implementation team in the City Attorney's Office. My team is composed of a group of lawyers and a project manager whose sole function is to work on the implementation currently of the MDHR Minneapolis State Court Settlement Agreement and eventually the work through the DOJ investigation and litigation. This team is actually walled off from the rest of the division in that I do not report directly to Mr. Nielsen. I report directly to our city attorney, Kristen Anderson. I know that in discussing the implementation team of the city attorney's office and also the implementation unit within the MPD, there has been some confusion about the difference between the two units or the two teams. The implementation team within the city attorney's office is separate from the implementation unit, but they have, we are all working towards the same goal of bringing the city into compliance with the settlement agreement. We have different roles and purposes in that, but we do work closely together. The team in my office oversees and coordinates the city's overall compliance with requirements placed on them by the settlement court agreement, or the settlement agreements, the court enforceable settlement agreements. The agreement that we are currently under is the state court settlement agreement, and it does require a great deal of coordination, advice, and making sure that many departments in the city are all working together towards that goal. Because of our unique position, we actually have a combination of functions. We do have litigation-related functions because at the heart of it, this is a court enforceable settlement agreement. It is a litigation. So we do represent the city in that litigation. We will eventually be responsible for proving to a judge that this city is in compliance with that agreement. We also interpret the legal documents to include the settlement agreement for all the city departments and make sure that we are doing so within the parameters of the law and city policies and ordinances. We also have an oversight and coordination function, and we do that to coordinate between the city, our opposing party, MDHR, and the independent evaluator on compliance issues, city processes, and any questions that come up along those lines. And we also coordinate all the work of compliance and advise on status and issues as they arise. In the area of minimizing risk, like I said, we have one very large litigation that we work on, and the quicker we can come into compliance, the quicker we will no longer be under the court enforceable settlement agreement, and that goes along with having to pay our monitors every year. So the longer we're under the agreement, the longer we're under the litigation and paying our monitors. The other is a broader litigation or mitigation of risk, And that's that the stated goal of these investigations, these court decrees, is to improve policing practices. And when you meet that goal, the result of that, in speaking especially to the other jurisdictions who have gone through it, is mitigating the likelihood of future claims against the city with regard to policing practices. That's all I have for my presentation, and next we are going to be hearing from Client Services.
Good afternoon, Chair Wansley and committee members. I'm Dan Abelson, the managing attorney for Client Services. So I manage a team of eight attorneys, and we advise the enterprise on a wide range of non-litigation matters. And I'm going to touch on a few different ways that we deal with risk mitigation. So the first is ordinance drafting. My group drafts ordinance, so we provide drafts of these ordinances based on the law in a way to try and minimize legal challenges. And then we also work with council members on creation of a legislative record where appropriate. So an example would be, my team has been asked to draft a lot more novel ordinances. So that's a different approach than, somebody's asked to draft a new parking ordinance or something like that. So the approach with a novel ordinance, which maybe hasn't been done in Minnesota before, would often include researching what are other jurisdictions doing across the country, and then talking to the lawyers in those jurisdictions to understand what's worked with their ordinances, what room is there for improvement, then coming back, analyzing what others have done with what the city wants to accomplish, looking at how what others have done applies to Minnesota law, figuring out how that piece works out, and then, of course, working closely with our staff across the city who are experts in the area to try and craft an ordinance that meets the needs of the council and the needs of the city, in areas that are new. Another area where our team is sort of constantly working on is coordination with our civil litigation team when litigation is anticipated. So this isn't just, when the city has been sued, but oftentimes, we can look ahead and be concerned about a threat of litigation. So we'll coordinate closely with the civil litigation team. And then another area of risk mitigation is the ethics function. So I'm also the ethics officer for the city. That function includes both providing ethics advice and training, among other things. But having that, robust ethics function, having the requirements set out in ordinance, having the ethical practices board, are all things that help reduce organizational risk, and it really encourages a culture of compliance. So when we have every new employee take that ethics training during their orientation, when all of our board members get that ethics training, it highlights the importance of it from the beginning, and people also know where to go when they have questions. So next, I'll hand it over to Nikki Newman.
Good afternoon. I'm Nikki Newman, and I manage the other client services team. The attorneys in my group have real estate, public finance, and land use expertise. They assist CPED, Public Works, Finance and Property Services, and other city departments with real estate transactions, things like easements, leases, redevelopment contracts, property purchase agreements, all kinds of financing transactions, everything from GeoBond issues for public projects to loans, grants, tax increment financing, revenue bonds, state assistance for private projects. They handle zoning, land use, business licensing, construction code compliance, other regulatory matters, and construction contracts for city construction projects. The work of my group mitigates risk to the city in kind of three basic ways or buckets. We try to avoid risk by, for example, reviewing contracts, programs, projects, actions, and then making recommendations regarding statutory authority, constitutional standards, compliance with applicable contractual and regulatory requirements. We try to control risk by, for example, undertaking due diligence, reviewing contract terms, identifying issues, requiring waivers and releases. And we try to transfer risk by, for example, requiring indemnification, insurance, bonds, and the like. And I'm going to now turn it over to Sarah.
Good afternoon. I'm Sarah Riskin. I'm the managing attorney for the Labor and Employment Law Group in our office. This is the newest group. And our team works kind of across the whole enterprise. We work closely with HR and managers and actually with the other teams that have all been speaking from our office on specifically labor and employment law matters. So we work proactively to advise, let's say there's a legislative change, we will advise the enterprise on making sure we're compliant. We work with on policies, any sort of changes that we need to have, policy developments and revisions. We help with hiring processes, things, from the life of employment, from the processes that help with hiring people. Then when you have employees and they need a leave of absence, a reasonable accommodation, things like that, we advise and work with managers and HR on all of that. Investigations. I realize this slide is fairly self-explanatory, but performance management, discipline, the grievance arbitrations when there's discipline and either discipline or questions about the interpretation of a labor agreement, and that goes to arbitration. That's our team handles those arbitrations. And then there's a lot of Data Practices Act compliance, particularly when there's kind of public interest in information related to employees. And then we support the labor relations team when they are negotiating contracts. And I think that takes us to questions. So I don't know if that's, whoever that is.
Well, thank you. We do have first Council Vice President Chuck Ty in queue for questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not sure who this question is best directed to. I believe it's probably City Attorney Anderson or Ms. Saunders, but I'm wondering if someone can speak to why the implementation team within this presentation, I believe that was slide 4, why the implementation team is walled off from everyone else.
Madam Chair, Madam Vice President, so it was important for us to make it clear that the settlement agreement implementation team is not doing the defensive litigation. You are all very familiar with Section 1983 cases related to police conduct. Those are handled by the litigation team, represented here by Tracy Fussy. The implementation team does not do that litigation. They are separate and apart. They are dedicated solely and exclusively to compliance around the settlement agreement. So we thought it was a very important thing to have that kind of firewall between those two.
That's really helpful. I thought that might be the case. And when is that something that you would consider to be, just important to you or to the perception that residents might have of the firewalling between the implementation team and civil litigation, where the city is defending current or former city employees that perhaps acted in a way that actually is the reason we have the implementation team in the first place. Are there legal ethics to be aware of that kind of result in that firewalling? Would this sort of thing be common, say, in the private practice within your industry?
Madam Chair, Madam Vice President, so not to get too far into the weeds of sort of legal ethics, public public law firms like ours are actually really, really different in terms of some of these conflicts of interest rules than private practice. Private practice, very, very different. In government entities, and there are actually some good opinions on this, because we are the city's lawyers, we can represent conflicting interests. And in fact, that kind of happens not infrequently. We've got different departments that don't agree with each other, et cetera, et cetera. That's something that the ethics rules do permit for a government law firm. And the way that you sort of deal with that is by trying to, do some firewalling. So I think that the way that we've set this up, frankly, the bigger issue really is more of the litigation team should not be disclosing confidential information that they learn in the course of their representation of, say, an individual officer. They would be ethically prohibited from communicating that information to the implementation team or, frankly, to anybody else. Like, that is part of our legal ethics standards. So the firewall is really to protect the litigators, and it's also to protect, from a public perception standpoint, the implementation unit, so that it's clear that, that, again, their focus is on compliance, their focus is on police reform, and to try to, and frankly, that's one of the reasons why we decided to call them the implementation team. And I know that that's created a lot of confusion. Like, again, why does the city have two implementation units? Well, we don't actually. We have the MPD implementation unit, and I just decided to call this team the implementation team, so it was clear that they are really dedicated to that work, but they're obviously the team of lawyers who gives legal advice, counsel, and compliance analysis for the settlement agreement implementation. That makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. Are there other examples within the city attorney's office of where firewalling exists because there's a conflict of interest or the perception of one even? And can you just speak to examples like that?
I can probably give you an example that just comes to mind as you're asking that question. So, for example, the Civil Rights Department has an enforcement role. Mm-hmm. And the Civil Rights Department can initiate enforcement actions against city departments. That's part of the ordinance. And so we have, the litigation team separately representing the department, kind of the respondent in that situation, and we have a separate attorney who is assigned to the Civil Rights Department to give legal advice on anything that they would need.
Understood. Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice President Chetai. I put myself in Q&A. I have a couple of questions. This was really good, just clarifying information about who does what and what you all do. I forgot which city attorney covered slide 6, which is client services. I did want to dive into that a bit, specifically of the avoiding risk by, for example, reviewing contracts, programs, et cetera, et cetera. I wanted to see if staff could speak, or city attorneys could speak more to the review of the programs more so, in terms of what does risk mitigation look like more specifically in this area? Like, how often do you review programs? And when you do find risk, what is the process, to rectify them, essentially?
Chair Wansley, it depends probably who your client agency is. I work primarily with CPED. Most of CPED's programs are start with the drafting of program guidelines. Program guidelines are the collection of kind of who, what, when, where, why, how for a program. And the project coordination team at CPED will regularly work with my office to get our input on what's the statutory authority for that program? Are there any constitutional issues with that program? How does it fit into the city's policies and procedures. And so, yeah, we regularly have an opportunity to provide our legal input and sometimes other input, but primarily legal input on the crafting of new programs for the city.
And existing, and I see another city attorney, but also existing programs. I'm assuming there's also an ongoing review of those in addition to reviewing new programs. Yeah.
I'm not sure what you mean by review of existing programs, but if they were going to, for example, amend the program, they would bring the proposed amendments to us and have a conversation about like what would be the process for adopting the amendment and does the amendment, fit into this, particular bucket or not. And so we would be involved in any amendments to the program, whether or not, if somebody raised an issue, a complaint, or something about a program, that would probably come to us for a discussion.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking in terms of like, that's what I'm asking of what is your review process of like existing programs? Does it take just like budgetary process to enact like a review when a department is bringing a change proposal? But just thinking of like a review of fees, or is it, a review of, again, civil rights, for instance, like a review of complaints process, like anything that might trigger, maybe we need to revisit some things that might put us at risk of litigation, especially I know that came up a lot around like our fees specifically, and how that's constantly an area that puts us at risk. But I also see, Daniel, knowing that you mentioned your focus is on CPAD, so I wasn't sure if the other city attorney behind you also had any additional input. Hi.
Thank you, Chair Wansley. I think from the perspective of my division, coming in as an experienced attorney but new to this division, as I've been, learning what my group does, there certainly have been places where I've seen risk to the enterprise. And sort of, an example of what we do there, obviously I can't be specific, but, there is a program where, one of the attorneys identified some risks. So I sat down with that attorney. We talked about what the risk was. We were meeting with that department to work on changes to the program that will minimize the risk to that program going forward. So, sort of as we see those things, my goal is to try and address them. I think there's some other areas where it happens regularly. So I know that right now there's a process of updating the city's contract documents, so when procurement takes the lead, our office provides advice, but we're going to be, there's changes suggested that will be suggested to help reduce risk, among other things, to the city.
Is there a standardized like chain of command when it comes to this process? You just slightly talked about like you provide advice to the department head, work with changes. Is there a way like the mayor or executive director is brought in? Like, yeah, is there? Yeah.
I haven't seen on that side a formalized process. It's mostly just myself and my staff working directly with the clients, who they have relationships with, to suggest changes when issues come up.
I was going to say, CAO Anderson, is there a formalized chain of command anywhere?
Chair Wansley, I wouldn't say that there's a formalized chain. I mean, essentially, there's sort of two different ways that we kind of get involved. One is if somebody asks for legal advice, and then the other is, our attorneys are really, interacting with a lot of issues, and when they see those issues, then they elevate that, then they engage with the departments. They can sometimes elevate them to me, and then I elevate them. We obviously, we only know what we know, so there may be issues that we're just not aware of, and when those come to our attention, then we're responsive and kind of get in and get to work. But the attorneys are really, really proactive when they see issues. So there's not really a formalized sort of process, but within our office, they have a lot of discretion and latitude to sort of work with the departments and try to rectify issues. And then obviously they can always elevate things if they need more support up the chain of command in our office.
Okay. Awesome. Not seeing anyone in queue. I will ask the clerks to receive and file that presentation. Thank you all again for providing that. And with that, again, we did a postponement. We've covered all the businesses included on our agenda today for the last meeting. Thank God. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day.